Marcos.
Hello.
How's it going, man? So we're here with Walker Reynolds, 4.0 Solutions, Marcos. How do you say your last name?
Well, now I go for Mark
Mark.
to keep it simple.
So you are the owner, founder of Tatsoft, and
That's it.
Your main product is FactoryStudio.
That's it.
So thank you for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I know this is kind of something that is a bit, new for like industrial controls and industrial software companies to kind of get out there and share their story. So I thank you for, being courageous and opening yourself up to our questions. And so I think we want to start off with, how did you've been at Tatsoft for like 10 years now. How did you come to form Tatsoft?
Well, even I look that young, I'm 3 decades in that market. You'll never guess that, but that's true. And I started working to a system integration company when we were starting to do automation with PC computers. Can you believe that?
Wow.
It was 1985. They starting to do automation with PC computers and PLCs. And at that time, the software tools for the integrators, they're very, very hard to deploy. Right. So feeling the pain in the field, in the startup for a few years, I decided to create my own platform for SCADA HMI, and I'm on that area since there, just evolving the technology to each new generation of technologies. I create a new platform.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think it takes to be a successful software company?
There are very large automation groups out there that, of course, you cannot go one-to-one on their business model. So I am what you can call the old-style software company, which is very passionate and very focused in solve some specific problems. In our case, it's real-time data management and visualization. And if you put that passion on that specific niche, whatever that niche is, you'll be successful. Right. Because the very large players, they are dealing with 5,000, 10,000 product lines in their portfolio. And the innovation on the software was always created by those smaller companies with passion, very strong feelings to solve some specific problems. And that's what I've been doing.
Is a FactoryStudio, so everybody who's watching the podcast, they hear me drop FactoryStudio all the time as a best-in-class solution. In our opinion, it's essentially Ignition in .NET. That's what I always say. We envision FactoryStudio long-term as being the data hub in most enterprises, right? So in Industry 4.0 applications, we envision a unified namespace, and all hardware and software and all users, all consumers of data are both consumers and publishers of data into that namespace. And we see FactoryStudio is that namespace in the middle, right? So when you developed FactoryStudio, which was in late, like 09, 10, 11, I think the first release came in 2012, was that?
Yes, 2012.
What was the approach that you took? So because, I love your platform, but what I want to know is what was different about your thinking than other software companies to have you build the platform the way that you did? For example, using both C# and .NET scripting and being able to toggle back and forth between the two. No one's ever done that, right? And now that you have a Python API that you guys just developed, right? So now you're supporting C#, .NET and Python, all 3 scripting languages. What was the approach that you took to build the platform the way you did? How is your thinking different than other software developers?
To understand that, you need to know where I come from.
Okay.
So I was also the founder of a company named Indosoft that's now under the Aviva branch.
Right.
And we're a very successful traditional SCADA HMI company. Perhaps that brand was not that widely known, but we have lots of brand labels. We have more than 20 brand labels. In one point, more than 50% of the Windows C market was our brand label. And doing for more than 10 years that traditional SCADA, HMI applications, and all those concepts of Industry 4.0 starting to pop up, I could see very easily the limitations of not only our platform, but all the automation frameworks that were there. Because they were created not only using legacy technologies, but legacy concepts as well. So when the reason I sold out my previous business and create from scratch was exactly to create a platform to address those limitations that you described very well. What are those limitations? The ability to work as a data hub, the ability to have more advanced data models. Mm-hmm. And there are some specific examples that I can give to be more practical. If you pick up the typical real-time database, that's a concept that's there for 2 decades.
Right, yeah.
You have a digital, you have an analog data, you have string messages. But the needs for the current data model, you need to have data tables, you need to have data sets, you need to have JSON objects. Right. So even still have that traditional 20 years old concepts of your tag model and the modules exchange information, the contents of that real-time database and the functionalities, it's a completely new design.
That's right, yeah.
So when I did the FactoryStudio, that was from 2009 to 2012, the first release, then 2014, a new major one, and now in 2018, another new major one, was really to address those new requirements you described.
Well, it's amazing when you put it that way, right? So you were the founder of Indusoft, which, by the way, Indusoft is a widely known platform. I mean, everyone knows Indusoft.
Well, thanks for that.
Yeah, it won Platform of the Year this year in Controls Engineering Magazine. I mean, it is definitely a widely known platform. I can tell you that when I started Intellicast Integration, my business partner was a huge Indusoft fan.
And in fact, I'm surprised with the longevity of the platform. I'm very happy.
But if you think about it, essentially what you did with FactoryStudio, imagine if Microsoft just threw the Office platform away today. Let's say they sold Microsoft Office, and then they built it from scratch based on what they had learned about the needs of the market today.
Mm-hmm. Well, not only today, but you saw where the market was heading.
Where the market's going. Yes. So you think about it's just like a Zoom teleconferencing. So I don't know if you guys use Zoom, but Zoom teleconferencing is by far the best teleconferencing application out there on the market. Phenomenal streaming quality, all of the feature sets. I mean, digital whiteboarding between the group. I mean, it's what teleconferencing was supposed to be. And I wanted to know, why is it that Zoom is so superior to all of the other available platforms out there, Uber Conference and WebEx and all that stuff. And when I interviewed the guys at Zoom, they said, "Oh, I was the product manager for WebEx at Citrix. I left Citrix and took my entire team with me, and then we built Zoom from the ground up based on what we had learned, what the market really needed, and we couldn't do that with WebEx, so we had to start all over." And it's really the same thing so that explains a lot.
Yes, in fact, I must say that's not only myself. I have some very nice, very talented people that work with me for more than 20 years now. So when I'm able to live through those generations of technology, I always talk about that.
Yeah.
I started moving from PGP computers, VMS computers, to DOS. Then from DOS to Windows. Then from Windows 16-bit to Windows 32-bit, and now to this complete new environment. That's not only a new operating system, it's a complete set of interconnect technologies. When you're able to live that long, you learn that the only way to really leverage that new environment is to start from scratch. But to be fair, it's very painful to do that.
Took 3 years. It sounds like it took 3 years to build.
Just to put the product on the market, more 5 years to establish. It's a 5-10 years endeavor that if you start to do traditional financial analysis, you don't do. You only do that because you love the thing, you want to improve, you want to get better. You don't do that based on...
Well, it helps that you started with Indusoft and you were able to sell your ownership in Indusoft. I mean, you had seed money, right?
Yes.
But I can only imagine, we develop our own software products as well. And they're expensive. I mean, it's very expensive to develop a software platform.
Yeah. The reasons we have so many out-of-date platforms still being used, if you go the pure financial analysis, you come up to, let's do some improvements on my platform. Add this new nice flavor of IoT here,
right.
A Java component there. Because when you look the payoff for the 2-5 years, that will be the reason. So the decision when I decide by the end of the year 2008, 2010, to do that was not based on financial projections. It was really for the, as I told you, of the passion. We like to work on that. So you like to have nice things. Yeah. You like to have new things. You like to have clean, beautiful designs. That was really what's behind that initiative.
So let me ask you a question about where you guys are located. So, Dave, I know that you're in Chicago and you're vice president of sales. You're in Houston, right, Mark?
Yes.
Where is Tatsoft's home base? So when you say Tatsoft its home is here. Is it Houston, Texas? Houston. Okay, it's Houston, Texas.
Yes, but frankly, I probably heard about those concepts for 4.0 to be decentralized.
That's right.
And to have lots of decisions on the edge.
Yeah.
Well, our company works the same way, the business model, so we have people in many places.
That's how we are. It's as Intelligent Integration 4.0, we have 5 offices, but we're all over the place. There's no, and that's the future. I mean, it's not the future; it's the present. The need to have your entire team in one brick and mortar building that's an antiquated way of thinking. So, can you guys explain? So, for the people who, I talk about FactoryStudio a lot in our whiteboard series and stuff. But I never really explain. I never give the sales pitch, right? I'm talking from a technical standpoint. So, do you guys want to give the 30-second elevator pitch on what FactoryStudio is and who benefits the most from it?
You do, Dave?
Okay, that's fine. When I talk about FactoryStudio and I'm introducing it to people, usually it's because they have expressed a need or a pain of some sort or a gain that they're trying to achieve, and their old software isn't letting them do it, either based on the new platforms today that they want wireless, they want remote, they want true, they want to use their iPads or iPhones and leverage all the resources on them as they're developed. But what I tell people is it's like if you could take 30 years of engineering experience and step back and get rid of all those legacy tools and everything, the design and everything, just like Mark was just talking about, and use it on today's modern platforms, take full advantage of what they offer. Put it all in one self-contained package where it's not a bunch of modules. You get one. It's a system, right? So
an environment. It's really an environment. It's really an environment.
Platform.
Yeah.
Whatever word. Yeah, but that's a good one. An environment. It makes it easy to use because you don't have to worry. Gee, I upgraded that module or updated that module. Now it doesn't work with this one. I've worked with modular-based packages before. I know that that's an issue. So I'll bring that up. That it's a fully integrated development environment, that everything comes with it. There are no options really. You get visualization, data collection, alarming, reporting, networking, all that stuff with it. Just when I'm talking about the platform itself. But I talk about the longevity. I talk about the advantage of being a .NET product, that it runs across any Windows platform going back to XP Service Pack 3. Right, so if the same version I'm running on my Windows 10 computer can go back through all those flavors of Windows that have come out before, and Linux, right?
And on that docs next, I will add also some information on that, because we have the server-side components, and and we can have some solutions that's the server and client on the same edge device, but in a large system we have the server-side components and we have the client-side components. So when I put all that emphasis on the .NET, the people ask, oh, what about the new web standard, HTML5, JavaScript? I say, we support those standards in our platform for the client-side tools. So when you deploy an application with FactoryStudio, you can use HTML5 and JavaScript to create the UI. But when you go to the server-side components, the Microsoft servers, the .NET platform is amazingly powerful, robust, and stable environments.
Yeah, I know Walker says all the time that like the FactoryStudio is just blistering fast, built on .NET, and
It is.
but you also, like you said, it's web-based or web server-centric, where the clients can run an HTML5 or native. You also have a native app.
Oh yes, we have a native app for iPhones and iPads. So
Native clients on the operating system. You
exactly.
got a native client, and then you
We
got
have
web
native clients in
browsers.
Unix.
And you guys are already on version 8.1, so you're a little bit ahead of the game. So
For me, so the advantage of the .NET for me, I'm not a .NET developer, I'm a Python guy, but the advantage of the .NET for me is using, so FactoryStudio for the power users out there leverages IntelliSense to be able to browse all of the scripting methods. So one of the most powerful parts of FactoryStudio is that you can use IntelliSense to browse the .NET libraries that are available for you, the DLLs that you want to use to develop within the application. So
also your tags too.
Yeah, you can. That's right. Use IntelliSense to view the actual tag objects that you've created. Tags are actually objects in FactoryStudio. So actually, everything's an object in FactoryStudio.
Yes.
Literally anything you add in
Anything.
there is an object.
An alarm group, a device.
And so they're all
a
browsable through
database
IntelliSense.
connection.
So it becomes, what's amazing though, what's the most amazing part of it is that you're not just developing within the FactoryStudio environment. You know, all the things that you could do in Visual Studio where you were going to build your own custom application, you could do from inside of FactoryStudio because FactoryStudio leverages all of the same tools. So and they're browsable. So it's a really
Sounds like you like FactoryStudio.
it's a
earlier
really powerful platform, man.
This
Really.
morning, you were saying that you like Marcos and Dave, but that's not why you advocate for the platform, because you advocate for it because you actually like the technology. And
So when I'm evaluating a platform, or when I'm evaluating a solution to advocate for, I was telling Mark that how many hardware or software providers are there in the space? There's
Hundreds.
Hundreds, thousands of them, right? I pretty much advocate for about 6 products. I mean, you'll hear me mention the same 6 products over and over and over again, and that's because they're the only 6 product groups I've come across that hit all the things that I care about. So I care about that the organization's values-based, they have actual values that are leading the organization. Tatsoft, check. I care that the company is agile. That is, and for those that don't know, agile means that they are responsive to the needs of the consumer base. There's a new feature we need, and you can't tell me I got to wait 2 years for the next major release, right? Are you agile enough to respond to the needs of the market? Tatsoft, check. In fact, all the stuff that you've developed in the first quarter this year,
MQTT.
yeah, the MQTT support, the Python scripting language, those are all things that we requested.
Yes.
We gave you this long list after training last year,
Yeah.
but these are things we would like to see, and we just went through it, and you said, oh yeah, we can do all those, and we'll break them up like this, and that whole list will likely be completed by the end of the summer. I mean, it's really kind of crazy in terms of the level of agility.
And it's great for us because the problem is we have way too many options. So if I put myself and my key engineers, let's decide we're going to do the product only for fun. We can pick up 100 ideas that you may justify. But it's very hard to evolve the product like that. We need someone like Walker that is doing the real thing with the real requirements to pick up those priorities. That's why we have discussed about Python for long time, but we said, no, now that's the time.
Yeah.
Because we have a real use cases for that.
The other thing, the platform has to be open, right?
Right.
FactoryStudio is a fully open architecture platform.
Anything plays with anything.
There's one proprietary component of the architecture, and that's the FactoryStudio communications protocol. When you're talking between apps, you're doing that through whatever
but that's just a communication protocol for efficiency.
Right, that's literally the only, but that's not something we can connect into with external applications. But everything else, we can. We can do it through MQTT, we can do it through OPC UA, we can do it through databases, we can do it through REST or SOAP calls. We have all the web services. We have all of the open architecture components of the platform.
And also that .NET, he starts to explain about the layers. I'll go back to that because that's not very common to have that. When you create a platform in Java or for Windows, typically you have your own closed package. You can provide some scripting capabilities, but you don't really give access to the system, to the whole platform where you were created.
Yeah.
So one thing that I can say, I'll not be humble now, one thing that we did that was quite unique was when we decided to create a system top of the .NET framework, we added this layer, but still allowing from our system to access everything that was behind on our native platform. And we did our extensions for the model. And that's a little abstract, frankly, but when you go to deploying projects, you don't have only our products. You have the decades of experience
right.
on Microsoft creating the .NET. And frankly, some people say that Microsoft was not great with the .NET because they just pick up everything that Java has that was good and create their own platform on top of those good concepts. But frankly, that's a good thing to say. Oh yes, they really did that. .NET was created, pick up in many of the good concepts Java was able to put in place and create a framework around those concepts. That's why it's such a powerful platform.
Where is FactoryStudio installed right now? So what are some examples of the most common use cases for, because our plan for FactoryStudio is much bigger than, we see FactoryStudio as the data hub, right? The unified namespace, the environment from which you're going to solve problems. Very similar to what we do with Ignition, same concept. But right now, what are some examples of the installations that, OEMs, it's very common with OEMs right now, right? That's a big piece of the, where they're shipping their equipment with FactoryStudio on board, right?
Of course, we also have many traditional SCADA HMI applications, but I'll talk more about some more newer distributed environments, and I'll ask Dave also to help me here, but I'll give the first one. Of course, because we are in Texas, we should have oil and gas applications. So some applications we have that was very nice applications. We create with have the requirements from the large operation companies such as Apache and others. So it's a system for get data from the rigs, where you not only get data, you run some local analytics in real time at the rig sites, and we have all the data aggregation to bring the results plus the local analysis to the central office, where on the central office you do an advanced layer of analytics. So it checks all the boxes on distributed applications with analytics on both on the edge and on the server sides. That's some applications that are quite successful.
We have, especially early on, we ended up in a lot of steel, right? Steel, with steel companies in South America, the two top biggest steel companies down there using our platform.
Ecolab.
Ecolab is a big user of ours. replacing a lot of legacy systems around the world.
Echo Lab was at the training, right? Was there somebody from?
Yes.
It was
Yes.
at the. So Intellic, we're a certified partner with Tatsoft. So we went through the Tatsoft training, and I actually kind of felt bad because we were up on the board, whiteboarding, and we got very excited because the deeper we dug into the platform, the more excited we got. We were kind of waiting as we were going through the training, we were kind of waiting to be disappointed, right?
Well, let's talk about
When you're
that.
going to hit the wall.
Yeah, right.
What are some of the things that you don't like, Walker, Marcos? Like, what would you like to see change? Nothing's perfect, right? So, what are the downsides?
Well, I wouldn't. There isn't anything I would say is a downside. What I would say is that there are things about. I think of it as ecosystem, right? So I need FactoryStudio alongside other platforms. I need lots of tools in my toolbox. So when I'm advising a client on the best-in-class solution for them, I get to draw from a whole suite of applications. But there are things, and so FactoryStudio, half the time is I'm basically choosing between Ignition and FactoryStudio most of the time.
Well, you said one of the things was gateway scope tags.
Yeah, and which you guys are working on now. So right now, one of the things about FactoryStudio is that the tags in your projects, they're just that. They're project tags. So FactoryStudio is a server-side environment where you can create many, many projects on one server. Very common architecture, except right now the tags are unique to the project. Right? You can share tags between projects using the FactoryStudio protocol, but that's a manual connection. One of the things that they're working on right now is they're going to be supporting server-side tags. So now you'll have server scope tags that can be shared between all the projects. You'll have project tags. I'm assuming you're keeping that in place, right? And then you have client tags. So you'll have 3 scopes of tags. But right now there's no server-side tag. So I'd like to see that. And then MQTT broker support with SparkPlug-B, which you guys already support MQTT as a client.
Yes.
You're already an MQTT client, and you're working on the development of the MQTT broker right now. So the big one initially was database browser, being able to write queries inside, and then a Python API, which they've already delivered both of those. So yeah, it's been they've done an excellent job. And I mean, when it comes, when people ask me why does FactoryStudio stand out, it really stands out for 3 reasons. Number one, because it's native.NET, and because it's a all-encompassing platform, it literally is the most bleeding edge platform on the market. That is, you develop a single application for all of your uses. So I don't have to build a HMI visualization, a SCADA visualization, and a mobile visualization. I build one visualization and use them in all environments. That's number one. Number 2, it's blistering fast. I mean, and there's no way to overstate just how fast the visualizations operate. So one of the challenges you have in SCADA is having high resolution updates of your data on the screen, specifically in like SPC calculations. That goes right out the window. I mean, we see some updates in FactoryStudio of 10 to 100 cycles per second. I mean, of the actual visualization itself. Wow. And I think that's a direct result of the fact that FactoryStudio is built in .NET. It's so close to the motherboard. There aren't a bunch of layers it's got to pass through to redraw the visualization. So that's number 2. And then number 3, it's wide open. Right. I mean, it's literally a wide open platform. One of the things we haven't talked about is pricing, right?
Yeah.
Your platform's the least expensive platform on the market.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of crazy when you
think about it.
It's
starting to become a problem now, frankly.
Yeah.
Because when you was 20-40% lower, it makes sense. New product, new technologies. New technologies are supposed to cost less, frankly. Sometimes they don't, but there are some business reasons. But if you do properly, the reason you bring new technologies also to lower costs. But now we need to see what we need to do of marketing, because the thing is when it starts to be the half, people say, oh, are those 2 platforms be able to solve the same problem?
Right. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm sorry, some competitors are raising prices, but
Well,
we need
also,
to
you're
figure
gonna,
out
you'll
our
need to,
marketing.
you need to fund the additional development too. I mean, I personally believe that. I mean, I'm never an advocate for raising prices, but I do think that your platform's underpriced. If I'm just, I think the price is very appealing to clients, but right now, $10,000 being your most expensive licensing package. I in my opinion, if I owned the company, it would be 15,000, probably something in that neighborhood. And you still could.
One thing that may happen in the future, as Dave described it, we have only one price model with everything we need. But as the platform grows, we are going to deploy some additional features to some more advanced projects, like those 3 layers of tag for plant-wide solutions.
Yeah.
So we may come up with some options for plant-wide solutions that you may see some specific modules with different price to that enterprise level plant-wide deployments.
So would this be like the enterprise version or the?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
The enterprise.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Plant-wide solution.
That's a good idea, because then you could still keep your existing price for like machine level implementations.
Yeah, and also process automation.
Yeah.
Because one thing it's worth to mention is connect with that performance. We came from the factory floor, not from the clouds. So when you had all your focus on the client side only, on the web pages, you ask a new page, if you're browsing, it's okay if it takes 1-5 seconds. Sometimes you see the progress bar of the browser, I use with that. But when you came from the factory floor on process automation as where you came from, if you hit that button and half second later, nothing did happen, you have some serious problem happening. So part of the architecture is because that's where we came from.
So this question is for Dave and maybe Jennifer, if we want to get her in. What are some sales objections that you guys have when talking to a customer? FactoryStudio will solve their pain points. What are some of the sales objections that you guys are hearing, and how do you guys handle those?
The number one thing we get asked is, who are you? Right? You've got all this great technology, what we haven't seen you. And so we overcome that by, we're good enough and we start talking about all these large companies, Fortune 100 companies that are using us, and to them it doesn't matter that they didn't hear of us before we found them or they found us. The fact is, when you look at the platform, right? I think you had that same response, Walker.
I was like, why didn't I know about this?
I said,
who are you?
It's literally what I said. I said, why have I not heard of you guys before?
That's right.
Yeah.
And so we talked about that we were focused on OEMs early on, and now we're shifting from that slightly, or adding to that, I would say. But that was clearly the number one.
Right, just brand recognition.
Brand recognition. And so I would talk about our experience in the industry. I would talk about if you could take 30 years worth of experience in developing software and get rid of all the old code and develop it with today's tools, you would have FactoryStudio, right? And then when I start talking about what's important to them in terms of what they're trying to accomplish, and that we have all those things, those problem, the name recognition starts to go away.
When we were in Chicago last summer, or fall, when we did the training in Chicago last year. So so a little backstory. I met you guys in Chicago at the SCADA Summit last year. I walked by the booth, and what stood out was you had native mobile and fully integrated and open architecture. Those were the language you had. So that's ultimately the reason I looked at it. After talking to you, I said, hey, can I get a demo of the software and let me test it tonight? And he said, sure. And he sends me a link, and I download the software, and we took probably maybe 3 hours developing an application. And then I came back in and I said, holy crap, where have y'all been? Mm-hmm. That's literally what I said. I said, how have I not heard of you guys? Because the fact that I watched 2 of your YouTube videos to learn the platform. That's all I did. Mm-hmm. And I was able to fully migrate one of my existing templates that I have built in Ignition into FactoryStudio in 3 hours. I mean, I was able to rebuild the entire thing. And so then it was, okay, let's get trained, let's start playing with the software. And when we went to the training in Chicago, I think maybe a couple months later, or maybe even just a month later, it wasn't that long, we sent 2 people from our office to do the training, including me. And the thing that stood out to me was most of the people in that room already worked with the software. So we were the only ones who had never done a project with FactoryStudio yet. So and it was a full training. And it was the passion of the people. I mean, this is how you can tell whether a platform is, is engineer friendly. Mm-hmm. It was the excitement of everyone in the room.
And they're not begrudgingly you can't do this.
It was it was as if their creative juices had been tapped into. Mm-hmm. That's how you know that a platform's a game changer. Mm-hmm. I want to say one other thing. A couple of years ago, you guys heard of WonderLogix? You know, okay. So a couple of years ago at Automation Fair, I ran into Dror and I feel bad. These guys are my friends now too. I ran into the guys who created WonderLogix. So WonderLogix is a software IDE for writing PLC code. And originally they only supported Ignition. So basically, or not Ignition, Rockwell controllers. So they basically created a software IDE where you could use software developers to write PLC code. So you do it graphically in there, and then you export it. You just export it out to the Rockwell PLC, and it gives you all of your documentation, automatic spits all the documentation. Mm-hmm. So all your user documentation spit out of that environment. And they were there to pitch, meet with Rockwell and stuff. And I knew right away when I saw that platform, this is a game changer. And I wrote on my blog, listen, remember the name of this company, WonderLogix. These guys are, and we were like in a little couch and just doing a demo. And the level of excitement I had with WonderLogix is the same level of excitement I had with FactoryStudio once I kicked the tires. Mm-hmm. And I was waiting to be disappointed and didn't get disappointed. And what I had said with WonderLogix was you need to have Siemens support. Like if you want to know where you need to be able to write one program and spit it out to 2 different PLCs if you want to. I can have an OEM may have to spec Rockwell hardware and he may have to spec Siemens hardware, but why should he have to write 2 separate programs? It's the same idea with you guys. You give developers every possible tool they need to build solutions. If I need to do it purely database driven, I can do it with FactoryStudio. If I need to do it purely tag driven, I can do it in FactoryStudio. If I need to do it MQTT driven, asset model driven, if I want to write everything custom in .NET, if I want to write everything custom in C#, if I want to write everything in Python, I can do that now. That is the future of the industry. It's placing no restrictions, especially in software, placing no restrictions on the developer's capability to develop a solution the way that they want to. That's ultimately what sets you guys apart.
Let's hear what Jennifer. You want to come up to the mic and introduce yourself? So, Jennifer, why don't you introduce yourself and explain what you do for Tatsoft?
Of course. My name's Jennifer Lemker, account executive at Tatsoft. Work with Dave and Mark. Pretty much, support their customers. Anything from day-to-day operations, account management, a little bit of everything. So. Okay.
And what are some of the sales objections that you run into when, proposing FactoryStudio as a solution?
To be honest, I really haven't run into too many objections. Actually, customers are very excited once we introduce it because the open, layered, it's not ripping, replacing. We can complement what you already have. The drivers are all included, the unlimited clients. So it's been very, very positive response from our customers.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You guys just have a beautiful sales staff. I mean, just look at Dave, those blue eyes.
I've called that before, but thank you.
Yeah, and also the new generation, because as I told you, are doing that for 3 decades. So the challenge now is to empower on the sales and also on the applications, this new generation of engineers with the new masters. That's what we're working a lot.
Do you track the number of downloads of the software? How do you?
We have that. I haven't seen that number, but we do get quite a bit.
Do you know if over the last year, I mean, you're seeing obviously continuous growth? But,
Yes. I cannot tell you the exactly number, but when you put out the 8.1 release
Yeah.
on the end of last year, we saw a clear step on that.
I can't tell you how many other integrators have said to me, because we mention your
Uh-huh.
software all the time. And by the way, our company does not get paid by Tatsoft. We don't have any. There's no affiliate program. There's none of that. We don't. I mean, we believe in the platform. I can't tell you how many integrators have said to me, "Dude, Walker, what is FactoryStudio?" And so once they've played with it, Justin Dean, for example, from CSE Icon, sent me a message. He's like, "Man, FactoryStudio is legit." Sean Terrell from Taiga, the integrator, "Hey, FactoryStudio is legit. I mean, where the hell has this platform been?"
Honestly, we're happy to be able to get the message out, you know?
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, it's the truth. So what's the plan for the platform over the next 6 to 12 months? What are the things that we can expect for the way that the platform will change over the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, there are some changes on the technical and on the marketing area. On the marketing, I will just mention quickly that this initiative should talk more. That's definitely on the roadmap now. The last few years were a little bit too much software programmers working in our little hidden secrets. But definitely we shall create more online contents. But going back to the products, one of the potential applications of our system was, as you described, the ability to be a data hub. But many of the first set of applications we had, just because it was people who knew us, were too much on traditional process control applications. Factory floor, and-on, MES, OEE, oil and gas process. And over the last 1 year, and being able to have you also in our training was perfect, we start to go for more that we can call through IoT architectures. Because there is a big overlap. There are lots of applications that we talk a lot on 4.0 IoT, but when you really look what's being done, it's just a traditional process automation with some little flavor.
Right. Yeah.
But the last 1 year, we start to really face more those applications, and you are one of the driving forces, frankly, on that. So we are adding more support for that. What that means, some of those items you had said, just review, being even more agnostic on the programming tools. We support our ads C#, VB.NET, Python, and are going to have also support for functional programming. Awesome. Probably F#, or we are evaluating some other options.
So great. I mean, there's literally no other platform that has that level of support.
Yeah, that came from Ecolab.
Yeah.
Because they were able also to see that we are more than the presentation or data communication layer. Some advanced logic. There is no real sense now in trying to do that programming on the PLC.
Yeah.
The PLC has and still have, but some of their advanced functional programming, Michael, that you knew, he wants to do that in our platform. And another one is that ability to have that 3 layers of tag, plant-wide tag, project server, and clients. And finally, more easy integration with additional data repositories. We have now ability to store data on PySQL, Audit, Azure, but we are going to expand that, being able to have more easy integration with other external storage packages or Splunk, or have additional easier connection for those data store.
You already have the connector for OSI Pi, right?
Yes.
So the Canary Labs, I see you guys
Yes,
were talking
it's
to
the
Jeff.
next one.
Okay, so Canary Labs is next. I saw you guys talking to Jeff last night. So.
Yes, we did also for the GE Prophecy story. So our goal, the same way you are agnostic on the PLC driver, we have more than 50 PLC drivers with no extra costs, right, all in the platform. We are doing that with the databases. So we are going to pick up many products that they have historians, and also some open source databases to have very easy native integration. So when you pick up our platform, the same way you pick up your drivers, you pick up your historian solutions.
So for how do people get a hold of you guys? So if they want to test drive the software, if they want to...
You can go to tatsoft.com and click on the product option, and then at the bottom there's a request to download. Fill it out. We'll give you a link right there.
Okay.
Easiest way.
Tatsoft.com, request to download, you guys.
Tatsoft.com.
Yeah.
Awesome. And FactoryStudio, one word.
Yeah, FactoryStudio.
Video, one word.
Yes.
Tatsoft.com. That happens all the time.
You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, I'm running low on battery here. So Walker, Dave, Mark, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Looking forward to doing more work with you guys in the future.
Excellent. We do too.
He doesn't do this with me. Yeah. So you guys are special. He doesn't give me the fist bump. He does the... That was good. That was really good. I think we touched on all the
Well, it helps a lot.
I was so distracted though by Zach's really cool hat. I was like, wow. How do I get